the harmony of resilience, aligning mind, heart, and community. Thank you all for being here today. I'm truly honored to stand before you to share insights that have the potential to transform not just how we work, but how we live. Recently, I had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Miska Yeboah, a visionary whose work has created ripples of transformation across continents. Miska isn't just a thought leader, she's a force of nature who has dedicated her life to empowering Black entrepreneurs, particularly women navigating treacherous professional landscapes. Her methodologies for building resilience have lifted thousands from the quicksand of systemic barriers and into the sunlight of sustainable success. What makes Miska remarkable isn't just her brilliance, it's her relentless commitment to creating pathways where others see only walls. Have you ever noticed how we're constantly fed this fairy tale about success? This neat little narrative that goes study hard, get the degree, land the job, climb the ladder, live happily ever after. It's a lovely story, truly. The only problem, it's about as realistic as expecting your Uber driver to be a unicorn. The truth is, success isn't linear. It's not even a zigzag. Sometimes it's a maze where the walls keep shifting. Sometimes it's a mountain where the peak keeps disappearing into the clouds just when you think you're reaching the summit. I used to believe resilience was simply about endurance, gritting your teeth, putting your head down, and bulldozing forward. Turns out I had it all wrong. After my conversation with Miska, I realized resilience is something far more nuanced and beautiful. It's about creating harmony between your mind and heart, especially when life gets messy. And life, my friends, always gets messy. That's not a pessimistic view. That's just acknowledging the weather patterns of human existence. Let me tell you about Lamar Falconer, a Jamaican born entrepreneur who co founded Leap Inc. When Falconer migrated from Jamaica to Canada, he didn't just face the typical entrepreneurial challenges that keep you up at night. He encountered cultural adaptation hurdles that made him question his very identity. He faced fierce competition in an industry where people who looked like him were as rare as snow in Kingston. What did Falconer do? He could have retreated to safer ground. No one would have blamed him. Instead, he leaned into the discomfort. He focused on blending his engineering expertise with business acumen while building a diverse team that valued innovation. Under his leadership since 2012, Leap transformed from a modest startup into an industry standout managing over $100 million annually for clients across multiple sectors. But here's what fascinated me about Falconer's journey. It wasn't just about professional resilience, it required personal resilience too. Imagine leaving everything familiar behind, your home, your culture, your support system, and stepping into the unknown. That's not just changing jobs, that's changing worlds. In 2024, Falconer won the Canadian Black Entrepreneur of the Year award. But that trophy doesn't tell the story of the countless moments he probably wanted to quit. The moments when the voice in his head whispered, maybe this isn't for you. The moments when potential clients would subtly question his credentials in ways they never did with his white counterparts. That's where Miska Yeboah's first principle becomes so powerful. Perseverance isn't just about pushing forward, it's about aligning your mind and heart in harmony. True resilience means setting boundaries, practicing forgiveness, and somehow maintaining love, even in difficult circumstances. But how do we create that alignment? That brings us to Miska's second insight. We must balance our inner world. The decisions we make, what we eat, who we surround ourselves with, how we think, shape our life's path. When our thoughts and emotions are aligned, there's less chaos and more clarity for positive action. I'm reminded of a fascinating podcast episode highlighting how Black entrepreneurs navigate systemic barriers. These business leaders described facing what felt like a rigged game, limited access to capital, restricted networks, and implicit biases that their peers simply didn't encounter. Their solution wasn't to complain about the unfairness, though they certainly had every right to. Instead, they adopted mindset shifts toward gratitude over scarcity. They focused on actionable strategies like intentional networking. They used storytelling as advocacy. Most importantly, they reported finding greater clarity amid chaos by aligning their internal beliefs with external actions. This alignment led not just to business growth, but to personal fulfillment. Many described early years marked by indecisiveness or chasing fleeting success until they learned that balance was key. They had to stop the exhausting pendulum swing between ambition, the chase, and presence, the here and now. This isn't easy work. It requires constant vigilance. It means catching yourself when you slip into scarcity thinking. It means noticing when you're making decisions from fear rather than possibility. But here's the beautiful part: this inner work doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you achieve. When your mind and heart are in alignment, you make better decisions. You recognize opportunities that fear would have blinded you to. You build authentic relationships rather than transactional ones. And that brings us to Miska Yeboah's third principle: cherish authentic connections. While everyone walks their own path, genuine relationships help us persevere through challenges and celebrate our wins together. In a world obsessed with networking, we've forgotten the power of actual connection. Consider the movement emerging among Black women entrepreneurs sharing experiences via social media platforms. These women face unique challenges: isolation and a profound lack of mentorship or support systems as they strive toward financial milestones despite systemic adversity. Their solution wasn't to compete harder, it was to connect deeper. They began lifting each other up, sharing resources openly online, forming digital communities focused on encouragement rather than competition, celebrating small wins collectively instead of suffering alone. The results were remarkable. Members reported increased confidence navigating setbacks due largely to peer accountability circles formed out of genuine friendship. Their businesses grew, yes, but more importantly, they built lasting friendships that buffered against burnout. This movement emerged after several founders realized traditional networking events left them feeling unseen. They pivoted toward creating spaces centered around real connection rather than transactional exchanges. The result has been not just higher revenues, but lasting friendships that buffer against burnout, a testament that thriving requires both drive and community care. As Miska Yeboah emphasized in our interview, real friends and supportive family are invaluable on your journey. They're the ones who see your potential when you temporarily lost sight of it. They're the ones who remind you of your why when the how gets overwhelming. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't just feel good advice. This is practical, tactical wisdom for navigating a world that doesn't always make space for you. When we talk about perseverance, inner balance, and authentic connection, we're talking about survival tools. We're talking about the difference between burning out and breaking through. In our work at the Pink Parachute Diaries, we often discuss how talented Black women are handed pink slips while underperforming men receive golden parachutes. This reality makes Miska's insights even more crucial. When the system isn't designed for your success, you need extraordinary resilience to thrive anyway. But here's what's powerful: these principles work regardless of who you are or what you're facing. They are universal human truths wrapped in specific experiences. So, what does this mean for you? What's the one thing you can do differently after hearing these insights? I challenge you today to take one concrete step toward aligning your thoughts with your heart. Perhaps that means setting healthier boundaries at work. Maybe it means reaching out honestly for support from someone you trust. Or perhaps it means choosing gratitude over regret when facing adversity. Remember that every small act toward balance builds lifelong resilience. Every time you align your mind and heart, you're strengthening that muscle. Every authentic connection you nurture becomes part of your support system. We live in a world that wants us fragmented, our minds racing in one direction while our hearts pull us in another. A world that celebrates hustle at the expense of health, a world that rewards superficial networking over deep connection. But what if we refused to play by those rules? What if, starting today, we committed to the radical act of alignment? What if we dared to pursue success without sacrificing our souls in the process? The path ahead won't be easy. There will be days when alignment feels impossible, days when the gap between your mind and heart feels like the Grand Canyon, days when authentic connection seems like a luxury you can't afford. On those days, remember Lamar Faulkner standing in a new country, facing an industry that wasn't built for him. Remember the Black entrepreneurs choosing gratitude when scarcity would have been easier. Remember the women creating communities of care when isolation threatened to swallow them whole. And remember this, your resilience isn't just about surviving, it's about transforming. It's about creating new possibilities, not just for yourself, but for everyone who will follow in your footsteps. The world doesn't just need your success, it needs your aligned, authentic, connected success. It needs the unique contribution that only comes when your mind and heart work in harmony. So I leave you with this question: what would become possible in your life if you committed to this harmony of resilience? What mountains could you climb? What barriers could you break? What legacy could you leave? The answer to that question isn't just your future, it might just be our collective future. Thank you.